Might as well just start it.
Hello everyone. Why don't we start getting together? Welcome to the May 29, 2022 caravan rally against the policies of the United States to Cuba. We've been doing this for so many years now, and many other cities as well. We're still here again protesting against the policies of the United States towards the people in Cuba.
That's right.
We here at the coalition, Wisconsin Coalition to Normalize Relations with Cuba, we welcome everyone, and we want to let you know that we oppose any policy of our government designed to increase the misery of the Cuban people in order to obtain political gain. We oppose the ban of travel to Cuba and the recently intensified U.S. economic embargo, which has restricted even food and medicine and discouraged third countries that seek to trade with Cuba. Good. We have a number of speakers today that are going to be presenting and giving us the opportunity to see how much support we have for them in the community. So I just want to, and then everyone is going to be gathering together because we're going to be having the rally, the caravan with all of us. So, welcome everyone, and with me for our first speakers, we have Juan Miguel Martinez from the Milwaukee County Supervisor, District 12, where we are currently located. He is a union organizer and a journalist who recently was re-elected as a candidate supported by Democratic Socialists of America. Juan Miguel Martinez,
Hello, thank you very much. Well, I'm not re-elected. I'm elected. This is my first time because this is I'm the first Latino socialist elected to public office in the history of Milwaukee. Something I'm very proud of because socialism is something I believe in very deeply. Something that I feel that Latino people and communities of color need in order to really rise above and institute real changes that are going to affect our communities. My speech is written down, so it's still not 100% done. Public speaking thing. So I just want to say the U.S. blockade is an egregious violation of the rights of the Cuban people and their processes. The impacts are felt all across the country, and it hampers self-determination as well as regional integration. The hardships tied directly to the blockade are multiplied among race, class, gender, ability, and geographic location. Now, more than 60 years ago, the Cuban Revolution toppled a U.S.-backed dictatorship with the intent of implementing socialism, and that included throwing out U.S. companies like United Fruits, who had a stranglehold on the country. Rents were not only cut in half, but landlordism was abolished, and illiteracy was also abolished, which was rampant and done away with. The U.S. blockade bans any company or country from trading with Cuba. It causes shortages of food, fuel, medicine, and other vitals and essential things from entering the country. This is a form of genocide on a people. Because the U.S. was so unsuccessful in their assassination attempts of Fidel Castro, it was a way for them to harm its people. While some steps toward normalization were made under Obama, the removal of Cuba from the state terrorist list and the opening of travel restrictions, the freeing of the Cuban five, true normalization cannot be realized until the embargo is lifted. So we're calling on Joe Biden to reverse the steps made by Trump and his administration, and that is why these caravans are so important. We must never stop fighting in solidarity with comrades in Cuba who are not getting the essential things they need. And these caravans take place all over the world, and I am proud to be part of the one here in Milwaukee.
thank you, Miguel. Our next speakers don't need a lot of introduction, but I'm going to tell you who she is. Christine Noonan Ortiz, Executive Director of Voces de la Frontera, which has been called the most effective grassroots organization in the United States, and is the mayor force representing and fighting for immigrant workers here in Wisconsin. Welcome, Christina.
All right,
Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias por, es un honor estar aquí con todos ustedes, so it's a real honor to be here with all of you. I'm accompanied with Rosita García, acompañándome está Rosita García, que es una miembro de Voces. I just want to say briefly that Voces de la Frontera is an immigrant rights organization. We don't just fight for immigration reform. We understand that we also have to address the root causes to forced migration, and that a key part of that are our own government's foreign policy, which has contributed, whether that's NAFTA, whether that's the embargo, whether that's direct intervention to hold up a dictatorial government to benefit companies, profit making, that as a people that we stand against that type of force that contributes to instability, poverty, and forced migration. And if we don't want forced migration, then we have to, the other side of the coin of immigration is foreign policy. So estoy solamente brevemente, que quiero decir como una organización pro inmigrante, que también no solamente estamos luchando por una reforma migratoria, sino también en contra de la migración forzada. Y eso tiene que ver con, sea tratados de libre comercio, el embargo en Cuba, o apoyando gobiernos dictadores para crear inestabilidad y para que las compañías sigan haciendo su ganancia, ¿verdad? Entonces, so we stand here today in solidarity with the people of Cuba, and we appreciate that we also have a platform to be able to highlight the situation at the border right now with asylum seekers. So I just want to pass it now to Rosita García. Y también estamos muy agradecidas también que hay la oportunidad de hablar, tomar un momentito con esta plataforma sobre la lucha para los derechos de los que están buscando asilo en los Estados Unidos. So, hoy está conmigo Rosita García.
Muy buenos días, mi nombre es Rosita García, soy una chica trans que está pidiendo asilo en los Estados Unidos.
So my name is Rosita Garcia, and I am a trans woman from Guatemala, and I'm asking for asylum in the United States.
Soy una chica trans de Guatemala que ha huido de la violencia, persecución desde los 10 años. Yo he tenido que vivir en las calles, durmiendo debajo de los puentes, en las orillas de los basureros, alcantarillas, porque la gente no acepta mi género de personalidad, porque ser una chica...
As a trans woman from Guatemala, I have been fleeing violence and persecution since I've been 10 years old. I have been living on the streets. I have been sleeping under bridges, near the
dumpsters?
Near the dumpsters and in the sewers, because people have not accepted my personality, how I identify my gender.
Porque ser una chica trans sufrió violencia, discriminación, tratos que quitan la vida. Me trataron de quitar la vida echándome gasolina en el cuerpo para quemarme. Incluso tengo cicatrices en el cuerpo y que me dieron 5 balazos, que cargo todavía las balas en el cuerpo.
As a trans woman, I have suffered great violence, discrimination. They have even tried to take my life, throwing gasoline on my body to burn me. I still have scars all over my body, and I was shot 5 times in my right arm.
Yo vengo huyendo de Guatemala y México. Pero estoy aquí viva, fuerte. Comparto esto y ustedes para que entiendan qué es lo que he sufrido de la comunidad del LGBTQ.
But I am alive, strong, and I'm sharing this with you so that you can understand the suffering of the LGBTQ community.
Yo vengo huyendo de Guatemala y México, donde traté de vivir muchos años. Yo estoy aquí porque quiero vivir libre, dejar que mi cabello me crezca, o sea, mi pelo me crezca, caminar sin temor que la gente me vaya a insultar o tirar piedras como hicieron en mi país.
I come clean from Guatemala and Mexico, where I tried to live for many years. I'm here because I want to live free. I want to let my hair grow long. I want to walk without fear that people will insult me or throw stones, as was done to me in my country.
Porque hay políticos racistas que remueven el odio contra el inmigrante, diciendo que no quieren que entren porque nos juzgan como si fuéramos delincuentes, en vez de gente que está buscando el bienestar de su familia y ganando el pan con el sudor de su frente para tener una esperanza de una vida mejor.
Why are there politicians that promote hate against immigrants, saying that why are they judging us as if we were criminals instead of people who are seeking a better life for their families and earning their bread with the sweat of their brow, who have dreams of a better life?
Gracias a todos que estén al lado del pueblo de América Latina, que luchan por la justicia. Gracias.
And thank you to all that are on the side of the people of Latin America and that are fighting for justice.
¡Sí se puede!
Yeah.
Sí se puede.
Sí se puede.
Thank you, Cristina. Thank you, Rosita. Our next speaker is the newly Dr. Alexandra Skater Omowaki, a recent graduate from EEUU, Cuba's acclaimed international medical school from Cuba. And also I wanted to let you know that tonight, public television channel 36 will have Dr. Olive Albanese, who is also a graduate from EEUU, is going to be talking in the bilingual channel 36.
Cuba sí, bloqueo no. Cuba sí, Cuba sí, Cuba sí. Bueno, give it up. So like he said, thank you so much. My name is Dr. Alexandra Skeeter. I'm a recent graduate of the Latin American Medical School, which is in Havana, Cuba. I graduated from the University of Minnesota in 2014, and I started my education there in August of 2014, and then 7 years later, here we are in 2022. And so I am here because I am from Milwaukee. I went to MPS. I graduated from Rufus King. I'm from the north side. And I just wanted to say thank you all for coming out here. Cuba is so special to me. They have given me a $300,000 medical school scholarship when, my family can't afford medical school. I don't know who can afford medical school. And so I am so thankful to Cuba. And we are here because this blockade is inhumane, and I've seen the damage that these sanctions do. Especially during the pandemic, Cuba really suffered in terms of getting food and goods. And so you guys here just means a lot because you give hope and you give reason, and you are just here to stand up to the United States and to stand up to evil and to stand up to, I want to have a moment of silence for all the victims of gun violence. And so I'll start that now.
Go ahead, babe.
We live in a country, thank you. Let's give it up for those. I'm having trouble finding the words of what to say. I feel like nothing feels right and nothing is right.
Go ahead. Say it from your heart.
I just hope that these families and eventually can find peace some way, and eventually that peace can turn into joy. And I can't imagine being in that situation. And so we are here, we are fighting, we are here to fight against this government. And I'm going to be applying for residency, and hopefully I will be a doctor here in Milwaukee in the fall. I will find out next year to fight maternal mortality rates that are high in this country, that have only risen 14% during the pandemic. And so that is where my heart is, and I love women and people with uteruses, and I want to be there for all those people. So thank you so much for being here. You can contact me. I'll be here for a little bit longer, but you're beautiful. You're loved. Amen.
Thank you, Alexandra. Dr. Alexandra. Okay. Well, as you can see, while the United States sends weapons to other countries and erroneous policies to the people in Cuba, Cuba creates doctors. And that is the point. Okay. Alexandra, hopefully she's going to be here. And we have so many other doctors that have graduated from ULAM just to be in the United States. That's the irony of more than 60 years of policies that the United States has against the people in Cuba. Okay. Also, I want to thank our brothers and sisters from Brazil that are here in the coalition. Yeah, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
So,
You're welcome.
our next speaker is Tom Hanson from the Autonomous University of Social Movement. He was the chair to discuss the talks related to U.S. and Cuba.
So some of you might wonder why the chair of the Autonomous University of Social Movements is speaking at a Cuba event. Well, we've been organizing study abroad programs in Cuba for the last 15 years. I was also the national coordinator of the Pastors for Peace caravans, or the first 5 caravans that went to Cuba, and have been working in Cuba ever since 1989. So I know the country well. But I'm here to talk a little bit about the national reckoning that we're facing right now in the United States. 10 people killed in Buffalo. 21 people killed in Uvalde, in Texas. And there's a lot of discussion about the problem with weapons. Now, obviously, this is a problem. The production of weapons, like any other commodity, like a loaf of bread, like a table, like a car, and then for sale through a capitalist system, certainly is a problem. But I think we need to look a little bit deeper than just the production of weapons. We need to look at a system in which there are 11 times as many murders by weapon, by arms, in Milwaukee as there are in Cuba. 11 times as many. Cuba is a socialist country. The United States is a capitalist country. And I think we need to take a serious look at the difference between those two countries, the difference between those two systems. A socialist system spends money on health care, universal health care for every Cuban, universal free education for every Cuban. There are no homeless people in Cuba. There is no institutional racism in Cuba. In the United States, we have a capitalist system. We have a divided country. We have a country that's divided by class. And because the classes are defined by gender and by race to a large extent, we have a country that's divided along all kinds of social metrics. This is capitalism. This is a country where people compete with each other, where the idea is to make as much money as you can, and where it's legal to exploit, for one human being to exploit another human being. Cuba's not like that. So why does this blockade exist? It exists because Cuba is an example for people all over the world. Cuba is an example for people here in the United States. How can you possibly blockade a country and condemn a country that provides free health care, free education, that maintains a very, very low homicide rate in comparison to this country, that provides free food or subsidized food for the majority of the Cuban population, where there's no homelessness. How can you condemn a country like that? Well, it's the ruling class, the elites, the capitalist class in this country that does it. And we need to stand up not only for Cuba, but we need to stand up for socialism in this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Since when providing healthcare, providing free education, providing many other things for the people is something wrong? Okay? That is the policies that the United States is against in Cuba. The coalition is a non-partisan and non-sectarian. It's not affiliated with and does not support any political party or candidate. We do not presume to tell the people of Cuba what political or economic system they should adopt. That is their decision on behalf of the sovereign nation with the right to self-determination. Next, I have Art Heiser, who is our founder of the coalition, who's going to give us some really great thoughts.
All right, Art.
Thank you, Omar, and thank you all for being here. So it'd be wrong to say I'm the founder. There were a whole group of people came together about 25 years ago. I was in the room when it happened, but there was no one person. But maybe I've been around for a while. So I want to put what we're doing here today in a little bit of context, and also ask how you can help. This whole movement of having the caravans, generally on the last Sunday of the month, was started in Miami by a Cuban American named Carlos Lazo, and they've been going for more than a year in Miami, and they've been growing. And as you know, there are some people in Miami who don't quite agree with normalizing relations with Cuba. So in the last month, one of the Contra guys, is what I call him, who has like a radio show with like 90,000 followers, said they're all communists, they're all terrible, they hate America, etc. And hundreds of thousands of people should show up and block them from having their caravan. So as a result of this, people from all over the country have been appealing to the head of Miami-Dade County and the head of Miami, they have two kind of mayors, saying that freedom of speech is important in this country, and the right for people in the Miami area to express their point of view, including if they want to have relaxed, normal relations with Cuba, must be protected. So that's going on right now, but from the videos that I saw a little while ago, it appears that not very many people showed up to be the Contra, to block the continued caravan. But there are around the country and even in Canada, 10 different cities, simultaneously there are caravans just like ours going on. But Miami is the key, the founding one, and the big, and apparently they have beat back the attempt to squash them. So that's important. Now, how can you help? There's lots of ways you can help, but one of them is financial. So this is a little can that says donations welcome. Maybe we could get someone to pass this around. So having these events is not the most expensive thing in the world, but it's also not free. Getting the signs and the little flags and the big flags and all that stuff. So we appreciate your support to continue going. We will be next month, the last Sunday of the month, June 26th at 1 p.m. We'll be over on the east side, the Zao MKE Church on Kenwood, right across the street from the UWM Union. We'll be there the last Sunday of June. And we'll be continuing as long as the weather is decent through the end of the year. So we can appreciate your support for that. But we also got a special invitation from our comrades or colleagues in Chicago saying that they wanted to bring Carlos Lazo to Chicago and would Milwaukee be interested in bringing him up for a day or so. He's a very inspirational figure, and they wanted to see if we could share in the plane fare. He's currently living in Seattle, but he spends lots of time in Miami. And so we would like to say yes. But we don't really have a lot of money in our treasury. So that would be one very concrete way you could help. At the end of July, you could bring Carlos Lazo. Also, Pastors for Peace is having another friend shipment the 32nd to Cuba in July. If you're interested in joining that, there's a couple more days. They extended the deadline. We've got information on the table here, these yellow flyers. And they're raising money to buy essential medicine to bring to Cuba in bulk. So that's one more way you could help. And our donations, whatever we receive, we will also devote for that. If you want to do a tax-deductible donation to IFCO Pastors for Peace, you can do that either today or on July 6th at Zao Church. We will have that evening, and that Wednesday evening, a send-out program for the friendship and caravan to Cuba. So please support what you can. And the only other thing I'll say is that in early June, the United States is hosting what is called the Summit of the Americans. We currently have a president who thinks he gets to decide who's part of the Americans. So they made noise and said, well, we won't let Cuba come, or Nicaragua come, or Venezuela come, but we'll decide who can be part of it. So the result of that was CARICOM, which is the Caribbean nation, said, well, we don't think we'll come if you get to pick and choose as part of the Americans. And the president of Mexico, AMLO, said basically the same thing. He says, I'm not coming because you're not going to let the summit really represent the Americans. And Bolivia, I think the same. And so, as NPR said, supposing you had a party, and before you sent out the invitations, you get all these messages that said, we're not coming, we're not coming, we're not coming. So, this looks like a pretty big embarrassment. It's going to be a semi-summit rather than a real summit in Los Angeles. There's a summit of peoples that you can attend, or you can check it online. And so we support that. That's going to be I think June 6th to 10th. So hopefully we'll get our stuff together in our country and recognize that we should be neighbors and friends and not try to pick and choose in an arrogant sort of way who's part of this episode. Thank you very much. Thank
you, Art. So there's some really great information on this table for many of the things that Art mentioned. Our next speaker is Josh Taylor of the Party for Socialism and Liberation in Milwaukee.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Like I said, I'm Joshua Taylor, the Party for Socialism and Liberation, a lifelong resident of Milwaukee from kindergarten to graduate school. So, So I'd like to just talk a little bit about the formations of the things that made Cuba so resistant to things like the blockade and imperialism. Many of us are familiar with the story of Cuba's recent revolution that was initiated on July 26th of 1953. We know who history was absolved because we saw the defeat of the U.S.-backed Batista regime in '59. We know the big names of the July 26th movement: Fidel, Raul, Che Guevara, Camilo Cienfuegos, Vilma Espin, Celia Sanchez, and others. We know about Cuba's national literacy program that taught 700,000 people in the countryside how to read and write. We know about Cuba's commitment to medical science and medical care for the good of its own people and that of others. We know about Cuba's struggles during the special period. We know about Cuba's perseverance in the face of the U.S. economic blockade. All these elements of the struggle have made Cuba into the blossoming socialist republic that is today. But the struggle continues against imperialist forces that strive to deprive Cuba of food, money, medicine, materials, and trade. Despite this foul play, Cuba perseveres because of its heritage of resistance, revolution, and victory. For 500 years, Cubans have been trained for victory through dedication to self-determination and participatory democracy. Right from the get-go, in the year of 1511, Cuba's indigenous inhabitants resisted Diego de Velázquez's colonial campaign. Celebrated as Cuba's first national hero, Achue mobilized the natives against the Spanish colonizers, setting an example that would be followed for centuries. Although Achwe would see defeat, he resisted to the very end. When set to burn at the stake, he was recorded by Bartolome de las Casas as saying that he would rather go to hell than be in heaven with Spanish colonizers. Despite the reign of colonialism and slavery for the next 300 years, Native and African people would resist the entire time through rebellions, escaping and establishing maroon communities. This will for freedom and self-determination reverberated all the way to Cuba's 3 revolutionary wars for national liberation, which lasted between the years 1868 and 1898. Major figures like Felix Verla, Carlos Manuel Céspedes, and the great Jose Martí provided ideological refinement and leadership to these liberation struggles. However, the masses of former slave and peasant guerrilla fighters called Mambises provided the force to rid Cuba of Spanish oppression and slavery. During the national liberation period, the principles of participatory democracy were further embedded into Cuban culture. The 4 constitutions created during that time emphasized participation in social commitment. They enshrined the right of freedom for all inhabitants of the republic. They set the voting age to 16 years of age. They rejected property and literacy requirements for voting, and they implemented secret ballot voting overseen by electoral boards. They also established in liberated zones things called prefecturas, that were made to tend to the economic and social needs of their people as best as possible. They had free primary education for children and adults, elections, workshops that supplied basic necessities, and even small hospitals, all while fighting the Spanish colonizers. In the Third War, Martí founded the Partido Revolucionario Cubano, which led the Cubans to national and social emancipation from Spain. Martí detailed his vision for a liberated Cuba, saying, "I want the first law of our republic to be the Cuban idea of full dignity for man." Following Jose Martí's death, the Mambises liberated 70% of the territory, clearing the path for this vision. However, that national vision would be put on hold for a bit longer due to the intervention by the U.S. in 1898. For 61 years, Cuba would be under the boot of the U.S., with its countryside serving as a sugar plantation for foreign capitalist companies, and its cities as playgrounds for the rich, corrupt politicians, and the even American mafia. Nevertheless, the specter of the guerrilla fighters, the Mambises, and a culture infused with the ethic that favored the Cuban collective over capital prevented perpetual domination by U.S. imperialism. The aforementioned July 26th movement would complete the revolutionary mission for national liberation, ejecting kleptocratic misleaders like Batista and U.S. capitalist interests. After this was completed, Cuba carried on the next stage of its revolution, the establishment of socialist democracy through emancipation of society from the chains of capitalist accumulation. In contemporary Cuba, democracy is in constant motion. It's not a static thing, due to the mass organizations like CDRs, which means Committees for the Defense of the Revolution. They are organized all the way from the neighborhood block level all the way to the national level. They are organized and led by the people, who assert control over their government through various methods. One prominent method being the submission of suggestions, revisions, or demands. One current example of this current reform of their constitution is the family code referendum that's going in place right now. The CDRs are the framework that enable people to be engaged in their communities. They mobilize to provide child care, care for the elderly, to clean and beautify their neighborhoods, to hold meetings, to provide recreation, and to safeguard people during emergencies. They have participated in every historical event in Cuba's contemporary history. These are people organizing themselves for the protection and progression of their society. To me, this is what democracy really looks like. When we look at the past and present, it's clear that the Republic of Cuba is dedicated fully to a socialist democracy that holds the highest value, the well-being of its people and the well-being of even other people. We should take it as our duty to learn from their example and fight with everything we have the economic blockade. And I'd like to close with a quote from the current president, Miguel Diaz-Canel. Our strength lies in human values, inspired by Martí and Fidel, in the power of truth and in the transforming capacity of education and culture. These securities are not listed on the stock exchange. They do not depend on the fluctuations of the market. They are sown with the learning of history and are strengthened in the practice of solidarity. Times are still complex and challenging, but we are already trained, firm and convinced, ever onward to victory.
Thank you, Josh. Before we get ready for the rally today, Al has a couple of announcements.
Go ahead.
Well, first of all, although we do not have our accountants here in place, I'm told that the collection is well over $100. So I want to thank all of you for your generosity. It's a very good start for our campaign to try to get medicines to Cuba and maybe bring Carlos here to Milwaukee. Number two, since we are moving our caravan, we might move it around some more, but we're moving it next month to the east side, the Zao Church, across from the UW Union. We really would like you to sign up if you haven't done it already, so we can contact you and let you know what things are changing and moving around. So there's a clipboard here, and I think there's another one. Actually, there's two clipboards here. So if you haven't signed up, please do so we can be in touch with you. Thank you very much. Thirdly, we do have some 8.5 by 11 with some color on them flyers for the June 26th that you can post up in your neighborhood or whatever for the next caravan. We have a bunch of tan ones that look like this. So please pick one or both of those up and spread them around and remind yourself to be at Zao Church on June 26th at 1 o'clock. And the wind is taking them away. And then finally, one of our supporting groups is the End the Wars Coalition, and Jim Carpenter is here. And Jim has asked us to announce that the coalition, which seeks to have more money spent for human needs and less money spent for aggressive warfare and military, that they are beginning a campaign on Fridays, starting with Tammy Baldwin's office on June 3rd at 11 a.m. That's 633 West Wisconsin Avenue, between 6th and James Lowell, 11 a.m. Saying basically we've been asking and begging you to please stop always increasing the military budget and not being able to fund human needs. And we're tired of just begging and writing you polite letters. So they're going to be out front, and they're encouraging anyone who is interested to join in that movement. If you want more details, Jim Carpenter's got some good literature.
Thank you.
So
Thanks, Art.
that's it. I think we're going to go back to Omar, and he's going to do logistics about the caravan.
Thank you, Art. And also, don't forget to sign up. So once you sign up and put your email, you'll be able to get all the announcements via email. So we're going to get ready for the caravan, and then Maddie is going to give us some logistics about it.
All right, everybody, thank you again for coming out. So if you were here last year, you know we tried to line up in the parking lot and then head out. Our lead driver knows the route, and it is a little bit shorter than anything we've done last year. Figure, let's get a little warmed up. Let's keep it easy for the first go around. So hopefully this whole circuit shouldn't take more than a half hour. So what we're going to do, I want to go over a couple etiquette things for people to keep in mind. So to start,